Hey guys, this is Jay Calder with JAYONBOXING here with predictions for the Jared Anderson versus Ryad Merhy card. And as always, these are just my takes, of course. Your predictions can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. But before we get started, of course, please be sure to like, comment, share, all that great stuff. It definitely helps and I greatly appreciate it. And a little show info here. It's going to be headlined by, as mentioned, Anderson taking on Ryad Merhy, who has a name that I'm probably butchering because everyone I've ever heard say it says it differently, so I have no idea how to say it. So I'm just going to go with Ryad. I think that's the closest name that I can probably say consistently. They'll be squaring off in the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi, Texas, airing on ESPN in the heavyweight division with no titles on the line. In the co-featured bout of the evening, we'll have Efe Ajagba taking on Guido Vianello. This will be also in the heavyweight division, no titles on the line in this heavyweight doubleheader. So we have an interesting doubleheader at heavyweight on our hands here. Neither fight is massive. In fact, this would be a much better card if perhaps the favorites in the separate bouts in Jared Anderson and Efe Ajagba were facing off. That said, I've seen much worse doubleheaders. In the main event, we have the aforementioned Anderson taking on Ryad, the man that most recently toppled Tony Yoka. Anderson is an understandable favorite, but it's a nice test to see where he is in the sport in his ascension based on some of his contemporaries. In the co-featured bout, we have the as-mentioned Ajagba taking on the hard-to-figure-out Guido Vianello. Both Ajagba and Vianello actually have been kind of up and down. They're both a bit hard to figure out, so again, it's kind of interesting to see which version of either fighter is going to show up against which version of either fighter. In any event, finished rambling, let's break these fights down. Starting with the main event here, we'll go with Anderson first. When you let your hands go, you are your most effective. You throw more shots than the average heavyweight, have faster hands, and can crack a decent bit as well. What you don't want to do is try and force the issue. You don't want to rush your work. You don't want to load up on your shots or telegraph them. You don't want to give Ryad easy reads as he tries to counter a bit. Instead of headhunting or forcing power, get the jab busy. Work it to the body and the head. You have the reach and the speed, so you can get that shot home, and that opens up all the other combination opportunities. And you have a great one too, so the combinations don't even need to be clever or creative to start, just thrown well and consistently. You can build into your more effective work as the fight progresses. As the fight moves along, the harder shots will get in and score with more spite. Even still, you will want to keep defense in mind and be mindful of a few things, as a matter of fact. At times, you pull your head straight back instead of ducking under and or stepping away. Against any heavyweight, longer reach or not, you just have to break that habit or you will be made to pay. Doesn't mean you can't pull counter, but you have to be in better spots with better foot positioning underneath you in those moments. Pulling straight back can also be a problem when your foe gets a read and starts leading with the backhand. You pull back expecting a jab, they skip that and go straight for a power shot, and you're in prime position to be tagged. You have a good left hand, so use those moments of not pulling back, but rather stepping to the side as a chance to land that left hook. Step off, sweep the hook in, and then follow it up with the right down the middle. Then you get on the front foot and get back to work and then start building towards those combinations. Now switching over to Ryad here. Anderson seems to have a bit of reach on you, to say the very least, so jabbing can be tricky, especially when they have good reflexes and speed as Anderson does. So a way to at least try and mitigate that jab is by setting up the backhand shots as a lead. Use subtle movements, feints, to draw out the stick by Anderson. Then time it with that solid right hand that you can throw. You're a bit slower, but you can be explosive when you commit, especially early, so timing it and then committing will be important. You can also lead with the left hook, masked as a jab sometimes. You throw it well, especially when in close, and again, if timed right, might be a shot to throw over the jabs of Anderson. Also, don't neglect the body. When you manage to get in range, trying to sap the speed and some power from the American should be on your mind, especially if you're stepping in and having him backing up a bit. Try and tax him in that way for those later rounds as he rarely goes into deeper water. This is what you should be trying to prepare for. One thing you have to avoid is waiting your turn, which you have a bad tendency to do at times. Against the fresh, fast-handed Anderson, you can't afford to do that. You're not going to get any favors from the judges anyway, so don't bank on that sort of thing. Sometimes you get behind that peekaboo defense and with your slower hands and feet just walk around too much, looking, waiting for your turn. That can happen. You don't fight well off the back foot to begin with, so you have to get moving and moving forward and letting your hands go in those right spots. What's more, you get a bit winded down the stretch. You're a muscular guy. Those muscles take a lot of oxygen to fuel, especially late, which leads to you winding down the stretch and getting more wild with your shot selection, and that's just a mess you have to look to avoid. So trying to wait until he tires or for that perfect shot late, or trying to bail yourself out late with power, not advisable. Be on the front foot. Throw those off-timed shots to get inside as he tries to jab, and then get to work when you're inside, and make sure you don't wait on it. And in terms of my pick here, maybe Anderson is going to be off his game, dealing with his personal issues, and maybe he shows up with too much on his mind. Outside of that, I see Jared Anderson having too much in his bag for the relatively limited Ryad. Jared will get off to a hot start, overwhelming the slower Merhy and putting his shots together well. Ryad might be dropped, but I think he can stay in the fight, though Anderson will continue to pile on the point. I think Anderson will make Merhy miss more than not, get those combinations flowing, and finally start landing with some authority late, hurting his man for real this time, and I think the bout is stopped shortly thereafter. Winner, Jared Anderson via late fight stoppage. And going into the co-featured bout of the evening here, as mentioned, we have Ajagba versus Vianello, so we'll start with Ajagba here. Ajagba has the sizable reach advantage over his foe, and he should use it in this one. That means getting that jab out there and securing distance, and Ajagba has a solid jab when he gets it going, so get it going. At times, Vianello can loop his shots a bit and get wild with the longer reach and straighter shots. Obviously increase your chances of getting there first and with more force. You can then start stepping into those shots and putting more into them. What you don't want to do is pull straight back. Ajagba can pull back in that mid-range, and that's when he might get caught. That's where he doesn't want to be. Either step into the shots and then smother his work, or you keep him at range until you're ready to engage once again. And that leads to the idea of putting everything together, which Ajagba can struggle with at times. At times, he commits too much to power in that right backhand, but ignores the setups. Other time, he's too patient and is flicking out the jab, but isn't going for the finale. You want to put all of this together. Use that jab and distance to set things up, bust Vianello up, and create those openings. Then you can start setting up the big right hand as Vianello is more exposed. The other shot to work in is that uppercut, which you also throw well. You had solid timing with it too, so using that to set up work will give you a good read for when that shot is ready to go. And put this all together and have some real success in this fight. And switching over to Vianello here, to be fair, Vianello has some decent power, but he shouldn't be looking to make this a firefight with Ajagba. That's the biggest strength of Efe, and there's no need to give him that kind of chance. Instead, with you having the speed advantage, that should be your objective, and that speed should come from your feet as much as your hands. Ajagba is a bit flat-footed at times and has heavy steps to him. You need to use that speed to get in and out, land those quicker shots, and score that way. But you have to get in, using some head movement and fast feet. You reach at times, and against someone with the reach advantage and power of Ajagba, you're just too exposed in those moments reaching. You can start this off with a solid double jab, which you throw well, at the right range. That can work to make up distance, especially if you have speed on your side and you begin to kind of beat him to the punch. And that speed leads to you using those angles that might take Ajagba time to adjust to. And by your own admission, you have been inconsistent at times. That can't happen here for you against someone that has concussive power. You need to be on point with that defense, that movement, and letting your faster hands land when inside. You can't get wild or use those straight lines too often. You have to move laterally, give Ajagba different looks, and make him pay when he's out of position. Again, he's slower. That can be done with that looping, sweeping right hand that you like to whip in anyway. It's a great shot, especially from angles. If you're letting yourself get out of hand or letting the fight get away from you, it's going to leave you either getting hit too hard or way behind in a fight. You don't want to play catch up at heavyweight when fights can end at any time, so avoid this. Focus on speed and sticking and moving, but fighting within yourself. You should give yourself the best chance to come out victorious if you do so. And in terms of my pick here, this is a tricky one in a way. I could see it going a few ways, but I'm leaning towards Ajagba. I think Vianello will be caught out too wild at times, and the straighter shots of Ajagba will punish him in those moments. Both men might end up getting caught, might even be hurt in those middle frames, but I see Ajagba getting the better of it in those moments. The right hand of Ajagba down the middle will be key, and I see it putting Vianello down hard in the late-ish middle frame. So following that up, I see Ajagba pressing more and finishing the job with a hard combination. Winner, Efe Ajagba via late fight stop. And in terms of the betting odds here, they're not too wide considering you have two clear favorites in Anderson and Ajagba here, but for the most part, you can see those there. Have not been able to find any over-unders just yet. We'll pin those down in the comments when I find them. Really, the odd that I like the most here is probably Vianello at plus 480. Again, I give him a decent chance. It's a kind of close fight to me if he shows up on his game and Ajagba is a bit off as well. I could definitely see that happening, and at 5-1, that's probably the odd that I would look at. But for now, in any event, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 22-6 with 13 exact. But let me know your thoughts, your bets, your picks, all that good stuff down in the comments, of course. And please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that great stuff. Check out all the socials here. And be sure to visit JAYONBOXING.com for schedule, results, betting odds, grades, rankings, and more. And as always, until next time.